Even though the Conservatives lost the election this week, one thing was apparent: Justin Trudeau is not the most popular guy in the West, not even close. The Conservatives had effectively a sweep of Alberta and Saskatchewan, unseating several Liberals, including longtime Liberal stalwart Ralph Goodale. But what's most interesting about this is that there was a Google spike for Western alienation and specifically Alberta separatism in the minutes after Justin Trudeau's minority government was basically announced by news networks, which means that the West is saying, another Justin Trudeau term, I don't even want to be in the country for that. Now, Western alienation is not new. Alberta separatism is not new. But this may be the boiling point for this sentiment to become more than just chatter online, but to actually become a full-blown movement. Now, I asked Andrew Scheer about this at a press conference the day after the election. I said, look, you've been clear that Justin Trudeau does not have a mandate in Alberta, Saskatchewan, but still these people who voted for the Conservatives are going to be governed by Justin Trudeau. Here's this exchange with Andrew Scheer. We've seen over the last 14 hours growing talk online of Alberta separation and more broadly brewing for the last several months, and a boiling point last night of Western alienation. What is your message to Albertan Conservatives, Saskatchewan Conservatives that are basically ready to throw in the towel on Canada?
Well, I believe in Canada, and I believe that this country can work for all Canadians in all provinces. So my message to the people of Alberta and Saskatchewan is: we hear you loud and clear. We will fight for you. We will do everything we can to make sure that this Liberal government understands that it has to change course. It cannot continue to attack our energy sector, to kill big projects that get our natural resources around the world, and that we will do everything we can to get our energy sector back on its feet and make sure that all Canadians understand that when Western Canada succeeds, all Canadians succeed. Manufacturing jobs in Ontario and Quebec rely on a growing energy sector. Refinery jobs in Atlantic Canada depend on a strong and vibrant energy sector. We will do that very important work. We will be that strong voice. This is the first step, and we will continue to fight and prepare for when this government falls. We'll be ready to replace it.
Andrew Scheer's message to those dealing with Western alienation, to those thinking that maybe it's time for a Wexit, as it's being called, is that, you know what, I hear the frustrations, I hear the issues, but Canada has to stay united. Don't give up on Canada. So Andrew Scheer, who is a Westerner himself from Saskatchewan, is saying we cannot let Justin Trudeau's win justify breaking up the country. And indeed, people have been fighting against this sentiment from Quebec for decades now. But there is a significant question of what Western alienation is going to look like after Justin Trudeau has continued along with his policies, specifically those that are targeting the oil and gas sector, those policies that are really at odds with Canada's energy industry. Now, this is something that's going to be brought up at a conference in Red Deer in a couple of weeks, a freedom talk in which I'm actually a speaker, and the topics of discussion are really centered along what does Alberta do now? What does the West do now? You know, back in the Reform days, it was always about the West wants in. It was let us have a seat at the table. People in Alberta are now saying that just hasn't happened, and I fear that's going to become the West wants out. And Justin Trudeau cannot have on his conscience, nor should any prime minister, a record of breaking apart the country from east and west, losing Quebec, losing Alberta. But this is a sentiment that's rising that needs to be addressed. From Regina, for True North, I'm Andrew Lawton.